In this section, we'll be creating the well-known Panton chair by Vitra Design. To start, open a new blank document, not from a template, and under File, Document Settings, Units, set the units to centimeters. Double-click on the Edit Subdivision tool and choose a sphere primitive. Enter a value of 50 centimeters and click OK. Place the sphere in the center of the blank document and zoom so that you can see the entire subdivision on screen. Change to an isometric view, and then with the Extrude Face mode enabled, extrude the top of the sphere upwards 10 centimeters. Extrude the top again, this time 50 centimeters. The small section between the two larger ones will make up our first bend. We want a double-edged split in the cage here, so that we can control how the geometry contours in the bend more easily. If we just had one split here, the bend would be far too sharp. Extrude the top face yet again another 10 centimeters. Extrude the top face another 50 centimeters. This will make up the upper back of the chair. Enter a front view, then in Transform mode, marquee select the cage vertices on the left side of our object and move them to the right 44 centimeters, squishing our subdivision to start to form the flat plane of the chair. Marquee select the top 8 groups of vertices. Notice where the 3D dragger locates itself. If we add more groups of vertices to this selection now, the 3D dragger will relocate to that new selection. While holding Shift down, marquee select first the left group of vertices underneath, then the right group of vertices directly below our current selection. This gives us the desired point of rotation we want. Bend the selection to the left 45 degrees as shown. Now, deselect all the vertices. Then, marquee select the leftmost 7 clusters of vertices. Then, while holding Shift, select the next cluster of vertices to the right as we did before, giving us the point of rotation we want. Bend this selection again to the left another 45 degrees. Select the leftmost 4 clusters again. Then add the lower cluster just to the right to the selection. Then the cluster above it. Again, using Shift Marquee Select to keep adding to our selection and ending on the cluster we want to use as the bend or kink point. Bend this selection to the right 45 degrees, which should be negative 45 degrees in this view. Now, select the leftmost 3 clusters of vertices, then adding the 4th cluster from the left to the selection as well, and bend this another negative 45 degrees to the right, to create the backrest of this chair angled against the seat. Change to a right isometric view, and if you haven't already, go ahead and render in OpenGL. Give the subdivision object a solid fill color if you find the portions of the default color difficult to see. I'll go with red here. Enable Edge Split mode, and click on the bottom center of the cage, right in the middle, to give us our center cage geometry. If you hadn't noticed before, you can control this edge splitting exactly. Press Tab after the first edge split click, then enter a percentage of 50 to split this edge exactly in its center. Click again to split it. This isn't always important when you're just eyeballing it, but for precision work where you want to find perfect symmetry as we do here, I recommend it highly. Switch back to a front view and enable Transform mode. Marquee select all of the vertices along the bottom edge and move them to the left, negative 30 centimeters, to begin the swept under leg shape. Now, select the 6 clusters of vertices that make up the backrest of the chair and move them to the right 11 centimeters. Then, using the flyover tool to move to a left isometric view, select the bottom center 2 vertices, and then in a front view, move them to the left negative 22 centimeters. The form is starting to appear now, but we still have this bladed edge along the bottom. We want the base to be perfectly flat so that it sits firmly on the ground. Enable the crease mode, then use the flyover tool to reveal the bottom of the shape. Select the bottom 2 faces with crease mode, then uncrease the edge between these 2 faces to give us the nice flat face we want that curves around under the seat. Back to a front view. Take a look at the bend between the seat and the leg. It's a bit extreme and sharp, making it appear flimsy. We want to thicken this a bit. Marquee select the 2 clusters of vertices on the underside of this bend. Then, move them left -2 centimeters and up 3 centimeters. This can be done either in 2 actions with the green and red linear control handles, or in 1 by using the blue planar control handle and entering both values, one after the other, in the floating data bar for X and Y. Looking lower down, select the 2 clusters at the front of the chair's base and move them to the right 8 centimeters to make our base a bit more solid. Now, enter an isometric view and enable edge split mode. We want to add cage geometry to create a bucket in the seat. So click along the side of the chair seat edge and enter 55%, then click again. Enable transform mode, then select the newly created top and bottom vertices in the center of the seat. Then, in a front view, move them down -4 centimeters and to the left -6 centimeters. Then, with the flyover tool, look up under the bottom of the seat and select the center 4 vertices that make up the bend between the seat and the backrest. Switch back to the front view. Then, move these to the left -4 centimeters and down -4 centimeters. Now, focus attention on the very top of the backrest. We want to lean this back a little to make the chair more comfortable. So in a front view, select the very top vertices and move them to the left -4 centimeters. Now, to add a bit of curve to the back. In an isometric view, select just the top center 2 vertices and move them backward -3 centimeters. Then, to thicken the backrest slightly, select the top rear vertex and move it back an additional -5 centimeters. Switch to a right view. Then, select all the vertices along the top. Enable the Scale secondary mode in the view bar for the Edit Subdivision tool. Then, scale the selection by 0.8. Then, select the center cluster of vertices, switch back to the Transfer and Rotate mode. Then, move this cage geometry upward 7 centimeters to give us a nice peak. We want to square off the overall shape, so enable Edge Split mode. Then, along the very top edge near the left side, click once and add a split at 20%. Then, add a similar edge split along the top on the right side, again at 20%. Now in a front view, select the very bottom left vertex on its own with Transform mode. Then, move it to the left -30 centimeters to give the base that large flat area and stronger angle you see in the real chair. That'll wrap up this portion of the guide. In the final chapter, we discuss converting existing subdivision geometry into other 3D objects to make it easier for you to integrate subdivisions into existing projects.